go to the website that the federal government has set up, 2010 Census, I think people will be appalled when they see the questions that are being asked of them, what their income is, the income of every person in a family, how far their commute is to work. These are very intricate questions that are being asked of the American people, and I think it's time as a lawmaker that we come together and start looking out for the American individual and their privacy rights as well.
Ooh, scary, scary. In case you thought the census was something bureaucratic and, dare we say, boring, it's not. No, really, it's not. This is how money comes to you and to your state, as you'll find out. It's also a site of tremendous political struggle, and people like that, Minnesota Representative Michelle Bachmann, are saying they won't answer anything on the census form except maybe the number of people in their household or something. Here to talk about what exactly this counting conspiracy is all about, we have Rob Robinson. He is an organizer with Picture the Homeless, and he's working on a new campaign that will help to boost the census in New York City. And Baratunde Thurston, he is one of the co-founders of Jack and Jill Politics. Let's start with you, Baratunde. Communist counting plot?
Obviously. The beauty, Michelle Bachmann never knows what she's talking about. So there's just a lot of factual errors in that clip you just showed. She's referring to something called the American Community Survey, which is a rolling, detailed study of behavior, of educational levels, of income. The census is really short. They used a very short form this year, 10 questions, and it's the closest to the original census we've had in decades in terms of the lack of detail that they ask for from people.
All right, so not much detail, but still you have to fill out a form. Some people are very scared about filling out forms. Rob, why should people fill out this form?
Well, sometimes I ask myself the same questions. I mean, I understand the basis of the census, but there is a community here in New York, especially the immigrant community, that fears filling out a document like that because they think it's a way for the government to track them.
Yeah, you're right. It's not just people from the right who are worried about filling out the form. There are others who raise questions, too.
Exactly, and some of those questions just, have you scratching your head, especially questions 8 and 9, the ones that refer to race. I mean, I don't particularly care for the word Negro. I consider myself African American, but different people have different takes. So if I'm from Africa and I'm living in America, what am I? I would think maybe I'm an African Senegalese. So it's very confusing, and folks are struggling with these forms.
Here's a clip from Raquel Cepeda's film, I think, that played part of it. Cepeda's film on the census. It played partly on CNN. Take a look.
They reintroduced the term Negro to the black category.
Wow.
When you hear that word...
Like negro or Negro?
Negro, it says it's in the black...
Negro in
black?
English?
No. Negro is on there. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right there. Negro's on there right here.
Negro. Exactly.
Why would Negro be there? It should be African American.
When you hear the word Negro, what do you...
Slave.
It's all politically correct, so that's what you got to think about, They're trying to include everybody from Negro to black or whatever,
so you think that, so you would choose Negro before African American?
No, I would choose Negro, no.
You would choose African American, right?
Exactly.
Baratunde, do you have a resistance to filling out these forms?
I don't, and I think, one, I've given so much information to Facebook, to Google, to my credit card company, that 10 questions, most of which most government departments already know the answer to about me, don't really set me at ease. But something that Robert was saying earlier does, and Michelle Bachmann was saying earlier, comes to an issue of trust. You have a lot of people who have a mistrustworthy relationship between themselves or their communities and the government, over a long period of time. Whether they're very conservative communities, whether they're immigrant communities fearing deportation, whether they're African American / black / Negro communities who are trying to define themselves, and certainly the growing Latino community has created a lot of tension across different groups.
But one of the points is people distrust the government, or they feel negative about the government because they don't think the government does enough for them. It's the census that helps states get the money to do government kind of things, like libraries and parks, right?
Yeah, and this is where the noise outweighs the signal in terms of what the purpose of this study really is. I mean, the census is a group of statisticians. They provide data to all sorts of government departments, and they enforce equal rights legislation, civil rights legislation to make sure that redistricting lines are drawn as fairly as is possible in that perverse process, to ensure that funding is fair, that housing seats are allocated based on where people actually live.
So our friends over at Color of Change put together a handy-dandy little animation online that helps you understand what the census does. Okay, folks, here we go. We filled it out earlier. In fact, our senior producer, Diane Seamus, filled it out. These are her results. She lives in a little town. Take a look. Form in the mail. I live in a little town. To heck with it. When you throw away your form, money lost to your community. How many people in your household? Okay, well, Diane put in 4. There. File it back. Wowie! Nearly $100,000 for her little town? Money that can go to parks and schools and libraries and you name it? Thank you to the good folks at Color of Change. I mean, that really makes it pretty clear, right, Rob?
Yeah, it does. And, to the census's credit, they've simplified the form, 10 easy questions. The data is used for statistics only, but it is hard to convey that message. I mean, to the same immigrant community that you're saying trust with this form, when they're arrested and you release them from jail, ICE is sitting out there waiting for them. So they have no trust in the American government.
But let's just be clear one more time. The census, sure. You don't have to be a resident. You don't have to have a home. You don't have to have citizenship. Anybody that is here in this country during the period of the census is entitled to fill out that form and be counted.
Exactly, and I understand all of the benefits of it, but as a community organizer, it's difficult for me to go into certain communities and have them trust that particular form. It is a difficult process.
So how would you make it easier?
Well, we make it easy by public education. Right to the City of which Picture the Homeless is a part of has a Yes We Count format now where we're going actually in door knocking. So you have organizations knocking on doors, but particularly asking questions in a different way. If we go to public housing, you start to ask questions about the situation in public housing. Then you turn the questions towards the census to try to get them to trust you and allow you into their homes and give you the information that you need, and then to educate that family on why there's value in filling out.
And just one last thing, Baratunde, there are still some people, Arnold Schwarzenegger and others, who say we should be beyond collecting racial and ethnic data.
And we should be beyond stealing from one another and other sorts of horrible things. I mean, that's sort of a lazy, passive view of what the world really is. Race still does actually matter, and it is important for financial reasons, for social policy reasons, to collect that information. And people aren't just entitled to fill out the census, they're actually required to. And the more resistance that people put up, the more it costs all of us as well. So that's something to keep in mind.
All right, Baratunde, Thurston, and Robinson, thanks so much for coming in. There are links to all the organizations represented and the articles, some of them mentioned here, at our website, GRITtv.org. Find out more about the We Count campaign. And we're going to go out with this video shot by our friends at New America Media of census workers in the Mission District of San Francisco.
Yeah, what's going on today here is that we organized a soccer tournament in the Mission. San Francisco partnered with the Census Bureau, and we are coming with a series of events in a different neighborhood, how to count. The Census, of course, today is providing the uniform for the players, they are providing the materials, and the city is taking care of the rest. City Hall and the community groups.
So I was the team captain for the Census soccer team today here. We came out, we had a very inexperienced team. We had never played together before. Some of the people had never played soccer before. And we pretty much got defeated handily by the other team. But we had a great time.
And I'm playing the Good Samaritan team today. We won 11-0. It's important for this community to get together because things like this don't happen a lot, and that way you get to know a lot of people in the community.
This event is designed to bring everybody together from the Mission community and the Hispanic community throughout San Francisco in general, and to get the chance for people to think about the census, to find out about the census if they don't already know about it, and hopefully to get to meet some of the people that are working with the census and understand that while we do work for the federal government, that we are actually people and members of the community as well.
We are focusing especially in the Mission because the Mission is considered one of the hard-to-count areas in San Francisco. There are only 10 questions that you can answer in 10 minutes, and it's coming every 10 years.